Elliot here. Good day. I have my good friend Forrest Bivens here. We were having a really cool conversation the other day and thought we'd do a really cool live on the curse of comparison and why comparing yourself to others can be a very sharp double-edged sword. Again, Forrest Bivens, Forrest, in a couple sentences, who you are, what do you do, and that gives some context to this talk.
Sure, no problem. So I am 61. I'm an American living in Canada. I'm not a dual citizen, just a permanent resident, but I might as well be a citizen.
Nice.
And in a nutshell, what I do is I help people live more vibrant, healthy lives.
Very cool. Well, there you go. Enough said. Enough said. With that being said, of course, we'll talk more about our curse of comparison. Again, Forrest and I had a great talk the other day. As you may know, everyone out there, comparing yourself to others can have some benefits, but it can also be very, very dangerous. And I've talked a bit about this before. Today, I wanted Forrest to share a lot of what he's seen on both sides. The good comparing yourself to other people can do, but also some of the bad it can do. Let's start off with some of the bad for us. What problems can comparing yourself to others, other people, situations? How can it affect people? How does it limit people from, again, having that success in their lives and their work?
So I'll preface it by just saying, if you see me looking over to the side here, it's because last night I was writing a bunch of notes and they're on the other screen here, and I'm not going to use them all. I'm just going to cherry pick. So I have to go back and forth to figure out which cherries to pick up.
Perfect.
So your question, the negative sides. Well, I think most people, when they hear the curse of comparison or comparison is the thief of joy, it's pretty obvious that it's a negative, but do people look a little bit further beyond that? I mean, no one ever wants to be thinking of themselves as comparing themselves to the Joneses, right, neighbors, or anybody else in life. But right, the fact is, I think it's almost part of human nature, man, because we can't seem to help but compare. And I don't mean necessarily think that we're always, not worthy or not as good as that other person, but also sometimes that we think we're better than them. Either way, it's a negative side.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
That's a really good point. And like you said, it's are we above them? Are we below them? And I don't think anyone is above or below. And
no.
I think it's a very important thing to recognize that no one's better, no one's worse than anyone else. Just as almost like a modus operandus for people. And I think we'd be a lot less judgy that way, but also a lot less judgy of ourselves that way. I'm no worse than someone who's a multi-billionaire. They're just a little further ahead. They've achieved a little more. They know something I don't, for example, right?
They've done some things that I haven't done, essentially.
Yep. And usually, just to throw it in there, everybody, usually they've taken more risks and they've done more things and failed more than other people have. Just as a preface it, because I love action. I'm a big take action kind of guy. Testing, see what happens, what doesn't work. Let's make it work.
Yeah.
What else do you find? Ways demotivating people. What other problems are there with comparing yourself to others? Because you're right, it's almost human nature. Do I have that? I want that. Do I want this?
I think if you so on the negative side, where you're maybe feeling like you're not as good as another person, or you could never accomplish what they've accomplished. Well, I think if you stick with it long enough, you'll start to resent that person for being better than you, and I think you start to demoralize your own self. I think what you're really doing is you're pushing what you want further out into the future, because now you've set up some roadblocks unnecessarily. I mean, it's almost like self-sabotage.
Well, yeah, I mean, the amount of stress, because I've been there, I'm sure yourself too, the amount of stress it causes you to literally push and force things when, and I've learned this by burning myself out several times, and I don't do that anymore, is that life brings it to you, the universe or whatever you believe in. Life, things happen when they're meant to happen. Yes, you have to do the work. You can't sit around waiting for things, but you do the work, and then things happen when they're meant to. I was trying to force things for years, and I thought, well, if I work, 18 hours a day, 15 hours a day, maybe it'll come faster. And ironically, it's not. It doesn't work that way, right? I mean, working effectively does, and doing the right things, but doing the wrong things or doing ineffective things 18 hours a day, it's not going to make them happen, right? Or something's not meant to be, or maybe the people are not there yet, the world's not there yet, whatever it is. So It is really interesting.
So tell me something, Mr. Elliott. When you catch yourself in that comparison trap, how do you nip it?
The one of the things I use, and I'm like, do I want to be exactly like them? Do I want to be exactly like Elon Musk or Tony Robbins or whoever? No, the answer is no. I want to be like me. I want to be my version of my amazing self. And it's a good way to stop. Well, I want some things they want, maybe the success or the fame or the money, or I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to serve like they do. That's awesome. But then I think, do I want to be exactly like them? And the answer is no. I don't want exactly like them. And if you do, then maybe have a look, because that might be not healthy. That might not be healthy. You want to be exactly like, I don't know, Oprah or whatever, right? You want to be exactly like, no, you be you. It's a good reframe, because I reframe myself. Well, do I want some things they have? Yes. What do I want? Okay, I want the cars and the money and the whatever, help service. I don't care as much about fame. I just want to help people, and often money and fame comes with that. But that's one way I check myself is okay, well, do I want to be exactly like them? And well, no. So then why am I, and I say this to people, why are you, or why am I comparing myself to them and where they are, where they're at? Let them inspire you. Let them inspire you, and show you that it's possible. Okay, it's impossible to start an electric car company like Elon Musk, or it's impossible to for someone that was born on the wrong side of the tracks to have a multi-billion-dollar magazine and TV show and thing, or whatever the case may be, right? Let them show it's possible, and let them inspire you, and think, okay. And this is where the double-edged sword comes in, where it can be useful, I find, and I love your thoughts and mine on this, but this is where it's useful, because, well, they've proved it's possible. They have proved that I can do it. They've proved it's possible.
Yes.
How did they do it? How did they, and modeling them, right?
There you go.
How do they get there? Yeah. What are your thoughts? And now if we switch gears to the positive, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
You just set it up for me, man. So thank you. I feel like I'm at the T-ball.
Right on, brother. Right on. We're on the green. We're on the green. Just knock it in.
There you go. So when reframing it. You said it perfectly. You got to find a way to reframe it. I like the way you do. I like that. It's not that much different than what I do for myself. Specifically, I feel that niggling negativity of I'm not worthy or whatever you come up
brain
with.
Or the little monkey. Yeah.
I hate the way that makes you feel. So it seems to trigger in me, how do I feel better about this situation? And I have trained myself to pivot on a dime and go into student mode. Because I believe success in whatever you want to do, if I'm looking at you and you have the life, the success, the whatever, the money, the whatever that I want, and I want to, just side note, I don't tie money to success.
Fair point.
Alone.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Alone. It comes with it, but it's not exactly.
It could be one component. It could not be. Yeah. But if that's what you want, so I have to go to myself. Success is a copycat game. So copy the right cat. I mean, if you're, as long as what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're conducting yourself doesn't clash with my values, I've learned that humility will get you further than genius.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
So take the freaking humility track to genius, to success. There you go.
Well, that's the thing. And aim to serve, aim to give. And you're right, there's something called the genius paradox. And it's, to a point, the smarter you are, yes, that's good. But then there's a certain point where you're too smart or too in your head, too overanalyzing, too in the lab, and you never get into the real world. It's really interesting when that happens. And you see people that are really brilliant, really bright, but then they're in the lab. They haven't done anything. I call it hiding. Lovingly, I call it hiding. But to your point, it's got to get out there and take action. Be willing to fail, take risks, be willing to learn. Because the only time, well, I would say it's never perfect. But the only time it's even remotely close, or you're able to get closer, is when you get out there and test it. You get out there and try it. Okay, this worked. This didn't work. Okay, this blew up. We won't do that again. I'll do it differently.
Yeah.
Most definitely. You get to it. Yeah, exactly. Like copy. Make sure you're copying the right person, because there's a lot of people that mean well out there, and a lot of people who just want your money. And make sure they mean well. right? And make sure they want you to win. That's why I'm successful. I want all my people to win. It's like, here's money, thanks for the course. And like, well, you're welcome, thanks for the money. That doesn't light me up. What lights me up is seeing someone win after they come and take some of the trainings and courses. That is what's amazing. Or at the end of my courses, I'm almost in tears. People like, this changed my life, James. This changed my business. I see all kinds of possibilities now. Anything is possible. I can do what I want. I feel like a weight's been lifted up. Like all that. It's incredible. I'm like, this is amazing. That's why I do it, right? The money is a nice side effect. Yes. I like traveling and like nice things. It's a side effect. But what lights you up, and I mean, as you know, there's a lot of rich people out there, to your point, who may not be, really successful because they're miserable, right? And sure, they have whatever cars or money or houses, but I mean, I don't think that's necessarily success if you're miserable or depressed all the time, or on drugs or whatever, right? So,
yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff, man. Just one other thought I had, to tag on to what you just were saying, that I think if you witness someone else's expansion, it reminds you that you might have what it takes. You may not yet. But you have internally, I think, what it takes to learn and grow and change. You just haven't done it yet. So I think it's a reminder when I see someone who's got something that I want, it's a reminder that, you know what, they're just a little further ahead.
Yeah, right on.
They've just done a little bit more. They've taken a risk, as you mentioned earlier, or they've taken charted a course that I haven't gone down yet. And so that's where the whole copycat thing comes in. Okay, let me take a closer look at them. All of those mechanisms, for me anyway, keep me off of the negative side of that sword.
True.
Because I'll drift back to it. Trust me, I can feel myself drifting back, but it's always like, oh, no. Because once I drift over there, then all the stuff on the positive side, the energy that I could be using to study them just gets used up over there.
Well, and that's a good point too, that envy or guilt or shame or whatever. And I mean, having envy, shame, guilt, envy is a great way to, like you said, sabotage yourself and make yourself feel like crap so you don't take action. You let them inspire you and let them, okay, this is possible. I can do it. I love NLP because it's all about modeling success and then recreating it. What are the basic steps? Do I have to do everything they're doing, or can I just do these things and be successful myself? Right? Well, what are they doing that you can do? You can model success, and then when you're successful, then you can play with the recipe. When you know how to bake, bread or pie. When you know how to do it perfectly, then you can tweak the recipe. And if you get results that you don't want, you're like, all right, well, I know why. Versus if you go out there and just try to do your own thing, and I respect people doing their own thing, their own way, but also follow that recipe, if you will, for success that's made the other people successful. That way you'll be successful, and then you can tweak a recipe to make it your flavor, if you will.
Right. That's good. There's another side of the negative part of the sword that I'm not sure a lot of people think about, but it only happens, I think, within the scope of a specific relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship. And because most people think of that as positive, and generally it can be. Most people are on the same page, rowing in the same direction, all that stuff. But I have had in the past people that I've mentored actually turn negative because they started comparing themselves to me.
Interesting. Yes.
Yeah. And it was the first time it happened, it was a bit of a surprise. It really took me back, and it made me kind of doubt a little bit, go a little bit inside and self-doubt. Exactly. Start part of self-doubt. And I realized, no, that they got caught up in this comparison thing. And when I talked to this one person I have in mind particular, when I asked for some feedback, and I finally got it because it took like pulling teeth. When I finally got it, it was, if I can say this, it was a bastardized version of Copy the Right Cat.
Interesting.
Yeah. What I mean by that is that they had taken the positives in our relationship and internalized them as negative, completely bastardized the whole meaning of it all, and exited with this negative comparison. Like, well, you know what? It's great that, you're trying to mentor me, but I just don't think I have what you have, inside of me to do the things that you're trying. And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't have to do what I'm doing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you got to chart your own course. And if I'm not the person that you feel is maybe, the one you want to emulate to get where your course is taking you, then bring that up and we can find some way to deal with that. Maybe the mentorship is not really what you need from me
Yeah,
or should get from me, but at least, you've got to, I think you've got to be really honest with yourself
yeah.
when you're in a mentorship role, when you're in a mentoring role, when you're being mentored, because I get mentored all the time by a
Right on.
couple of people, and I have to check myself all the time to not compare their level of expertise with mine.
And that's that, it's so important because, and I heard a great mentor say this to me, and she's right. She's like, if I'm successful and I'm really successful mentoring you, I really want to see you make way more money than me and be way more successful than that would be amazing. And I think that's a sign of a great mentor. I mean, they'll be delighted to see you. But again, like you said, people have envy and greed. And then the mentor's like, well, wait, why don't I have that? And well, ask first of all, because I think I learn from my clients all the time, and it's wonderful, right? Versus a lot of the know-it-all attitudes from some so-called experts and even some real experts.
True that, man. True that.
Like you said, it's we have different levels, and sometimes we outgrow certain mentors. You can find new mentors for a while, and you outgrow them and find new mentors. But it is interesting, though, how some mentors may get jealous about your success, and they may unconsciously or consciously start limiting you or putting you down or suppressing you so you don't outshine them or so they don't feel bad or whatever reason, right? And again, sometimes a lot of times it's unconscious. They don't realize it, but they will limit you, put you down, and that's a dangerous thing because the mentor is supposed to lift you up. And if they got it, anyways, what's that saying? All boats float higher on a rising tide, or whatever that is.
Rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah, and you're going to start doing really well, and they're going to start doing well anyways by default. They just don't realize it, and that's unfortunately jealousy and envy comes in, which then they're comparing themselves to you, and the double-edged sword begins.
Yeah, exactly. In what I do in in the relationships where I'm being mentored, I always look at it like we all know we got to take action. We get I think the most valuable feedback you can give a mentor if you're being mentored is immediate action. So they give you some advice, don't hem and haw, go do it. And then come back and, dice it up, talk about it, all that. See how get some results that you can actually. So where was I going with that? Oh boy. But what what I kind of see happen sometime with people that get mentored, and not just with me, but with someone else, is that they will internalize that negative side of the comparison, and that just frees them from taking action. Like I said earlier, the energy that I use in comparing myself could be used in studying them and taking action.
Well, exactly.
So there you go. I don't know how we got on this mentoring thing, but I guess I brought it up. Yeah, but it just seems to me that comparison is not just limited for those situations where I'm looking at somebody I may not know that well or whatever, but you can have a really intimate relationship, and you got to be intimate to be mentored or mentor. You can have a really intimate relationship with somebody and really start to present them because of their success or your perceptions. It's weird. It's weird stuff. The human psyche is weird.
The human brain is a very interesting but yet very powerful to either limit you or lift you up kind of thing. The human brain's amazing. But you're right. It's that thing. It's the spirit of wanting everyone to win. And I think having an abundance mentality versus a poverty, because that's what happens, right? It's a poverty mentality. Oh, they're rich and they're successful. Why am I not? We'll go ask them how. And because if they're successful and rich, well, then by default, it means you can be successful and rich. They proved it works. We went to the moon once. That's proved we can do it again, right?
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, and it's all the.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just in summary, I think taking action can keep you out of off the negative edge. I think taking action is like the cure for darn near everything that ails
Right
mankind.
on.
Take action, move off of that spot.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, there's the saying I love, fear cannot live in action. And you start, which is true. You're fearing, you're worrying, you're overanalyzing, but you do something anyways. And you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Or, oh, this is working out better than I thought. And I think you're right, is to I don't want to say expect failure, but expect things not to be perfect. If you expect things to be perfect, you're going to be unfortunately let down, and you're probably not going to take much action. Versus expect things not to be perfect. Some things will work, some things won't, and that's okay. You just get feedback and do it again. My courses, were they perfect? Were they, and not
Probably not.
when I started, no, right? But it's been 10 years and I've iterated them many, many, many times. And that's why, when people come and, I rock their world and they have amazing breakthroughs and the business success, the personal success, the communication, relationship, the personal confidence, even after, it's amazing what they have. And it didn't, it was good the first course, but then it got better and better and better and better. And I think people, they expect perfection, or I think others are expecting perfection in them, or probably they're expecting perfection in themselves and so hard on themselves. And it's a limitation. It causes people to hide and not, to your point, not take action. And you don't win when you don't take action.
True that, man. True that.
Any other thoughts on a double-edged sword, success, comparing, keeping up with the Joneses? I got one last one.
I was kind of looking at the time, and I remember what you said, that we don't want to bore folks.
Don't want to do too long as thing.
Exactly, yeah.
You may tag on to this one too. My one of my last thoughts here is, remember, we see people, and someone might be rich or maybe they have a crazy expensive car, but I mean, can they afford to live, or do they have a small house, or do they not take trips like you want? Right? Things are interesting, and doesn't mean they have one thing, they have everything you want. So you say, oh wow, I want the Nissan GTR, I want that car. Let's say you see someone with a car. Well, great, they have that, but maybe they don't have a dream house. Maybe they're living in debt. Maybe a lot of people these days, alcohol and drug abuse has just skyrocketed, even more than it was during COVID. But I mean, because people try to keep up with the Joneses, and it can be exhausting and unfulfilling. That's why there's, booze and drugs and gambling, drugs, rock and roll, whatever this thing is. So I think people need to be careful of that too, and look at what people have. And there's a lot of rich, depressed people, and there's a lot of rich, happy people too when you do it the right way. But there's a lot of rich, depressed people not doing what they love, doing it the wrong way, and thinking, I have to do this, I have to be rich, I have to have this lifestyle for people to be like me. And to your point, it goes down to that, to be loved or to feel worthy. And it's really a big mistake. But again, when you look at people, realize, well, maybe they don't go on many trips. I love traveling. Maybe they have a great, expensive car, $100,000 car, but they don't do any traveling. Like, sounds like it sucks, because I love to travel. So be careful when comparing yourself to others, because you may not know the full story. And again, there's that, flag waving competition everyone has about how everyone's so good, and people only post the perfect pictures on Facebook, and they're always happy online. And careful with that too. When you compare, I wish I was happy and traveling every day and I had a grin on my face every second. No, it's not real, people. It's not real.
No.
It's not real.
No. You're right. No one's going to post their nose on Facebook.
Or this blew up. I'm going to post it.
Neither one of us are going to go, oh man, I had a crap day. Let me post this on Facebook.
And maybe, to be different, maybe we should do that, because people are like, oh, thank God someone else having a crappy day today too.
You got a point there.
Like they're human.
People do like vulnerability and transparency.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a lot more attractive than just a perfect life. Yeah,
huge. Really is. And for people listening, to your point, if you want to attract, connect with people, sell, enroll, such a good being a bit vulnerable. You don't want to open the kimono, but I mean, be open, be vulnerable, and be open, and just be real. Because people know when you're not being real anyways, and then your connection is this instead of this. So if you want people to hire you, buy from you, date you, whatever, be open, be real. If they don't like you for that, they're not worth hanging out with. They're not worth being clients of, or clients for, or whatever, right? So or vendor for, or whatever. They're not worth hanging out with. But anyways, those are thoughts.
That's a great tagline for this, man. And be open, but don't open the kimono.
Right on, exactly. Be open, just don't open the kimono. Vulnerability is great. Well, I've had great feedback of, wow, I love how I can feel I can connect with you. I love how vulnerable you are. And here's something a lot of people don't know. Vulnerability will also show confidence, because if you're not confident, you're trying to hide everything. Oh my God, what people think, what people say. versus it's a very confident thing to be open. And I often share a lot about me and my past and my struggles and my challenges and now where I've come from. And it inspires people. So, guys, share your story, share where you come from, share your why, your passion, because that's why people will hire you. That's why people will buy from you. It's not because you have all these certifications or degrees or expertise. People buy from who they like and who they can resonate with. So.
Yeah, it's not your resume. I'm more attracted to somebody who has flopped on their face and come away with a lesson.
Exactly. Right on, brother. Right on. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, well, that was it for me. Any last thoughts for everyone before they go, guys?
Last
is here. Yeah.
Well, I think it's critical to remember, since we're in the social media, era, that curse of comparison, social media.
Not everything is what it seems.
they're siblings, man. They're really close twins. And man, you got to know that social media is just a facade. It really is. And I see so many people get caught up in the comparison there.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. We hear all the stats, it starts at teenage years and just keeps going. So if anything, just remember that those are just sanitized versions of people's lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The glowy, shiny moments. Fair enough.
Yeah, you got it.
Fair enough. Great thought. Thank you very much, sir. Very much. I have your Facebook link here. If people want to connect with you, learn more about what you do, how you help people and work with people and help giving them, work and time freedom with some of the things you teach them and consult on them with as well. So there's Forrest as well. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining us. Hope this is valuable. And to your point, Forrest, earlier, avoid comparing yourself with others. Most people's shiny exteriors or the stuff they have or online or cars or Facebook or houses, it's just a shiny exterior. And oftentimes people are struggling on the inside. So be compassionate, be open and beware, but also be compassionate with yourself too. And yes, seek to do your best. Be the best you. Be better than yesterday. Avoid worrying about being like someone who's, probably been a 10-year overnight success. And just see
that's true.
But yeah, they're a 10-year overnight success. So on that note,
true.
Thanks very much for this. This has been a great chat. Appreciate you joining. I can't wait to do some more talks. And everyone out there, go have your best day ever and be you, be authentic, I promise.